Hi, everybody. I'm Brittany Lewis with Forbes Breaking News. Joining me now is Kathy Roth-Douqet, co-founder and CEO of Blue Star Families. Kathy, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks for taking on this topic.
It's a really important conversation, but before we dive right in, can you just tell us what Blue Star Families is?
Sure. Blue Star Families is the largest organization in the nation that supports military and veteran families. We were started by family members themselves 14 years ago, and now we have almost 275,000 families in our membership. We reach 1.5 million individuals each year with our programs and resources.
Kathy, I do want to talk about recent news affecting the military and military families. Senator Tommy Tuberville of Alabama has blocked hundreds of military promotions and nominations since February in a protest to the Pentagon's abortion policy. What do you make of this holdup?
This is a tremendously discouraging development. At Blue Star Families, we have seen our members feel really profoundly disrespected by this action by Senator Tuberville. Politics has no place in military service. Among all the tools that senators have to make laws, holding military personnel and the good order and discipline of the military should not be among those tools.
This has been usually a unanimous vote. It's been a bipartisan vote historically. Now it's being politicized. What do you make of that turn of events here?
So the politicization of the military through the promotion block holds is extraordinarily frustrating because our military is really disciplined in keeping politics out of military good order and discipline, the promotion system. We have no role as people who serve in the military or as their families for deciding what policies should be enacted in the country. We can't change it. So to punish the military, to hold them hostage, not only the individuals whose promotions are being affected, but the cascading people the cascading individuals whose promotions are affected. And then on top of it, the lack of leadership for all of those units who are being affected, profoundly affects the military's well-being.
Let's talk about those ramifications here. What are those short-term and long-term ramifications? You're saying the military is essentially being held hostage. Can you explain what that means and then go through the ramifications?
Sure. The military is being held hostage for a number of reasons. First of all, there's the individuals directly whose promotions are halted. Obviously, those people and their families, their spouses and their children, can't proceed with their lives. But then the people who were being promoted into the positions they were leaving aren't being moved either. And the people behind them who would have gone in. So Blue Star Families fielded a pulse poll a few weeks ago. Within 36 hours, we had over 1,200 people respond to that poll. 80% said their lives were being directly affected by that. So that's two. That's the people themselves, and then it's the folks one order behind them whose promotions are stopped. But then it's much larger than that because it's a pyramid system, right? It's a hierarchy in the military. So the leadership comes from the top. The command climate, the commander's intent, all of that comes from the top. So when you decapitate the top, you don't have a legitimate leader. Everyone knows someone who's acting in a position is not the person who's going to be leading in the future. So there's a lack of leadership that permeates the experiences and the safety and the ability to professionally perform of everyone behind them. And that's what we've seen. Blue Star Families, we fielded a second pulse poll. It's live right now. If people who are watching, who are connected to the military, want to take part in it, they may. But we've already getting scores of quotes from people who feel directly affected, not necessarily because their promotion itself is being affected, but because people feel that they are being used as political pawns. And that's tremendously discouraging when you set aside your rights as citizens to serve, then to find yourself being used as a pawn by those very leaders that are supposed to have your interests at heart.
You're right on that cascading effect. Do you have any specific stories or examples of people within the Blue Star family community who are feeling the effects of this?
Yes, we do. One of the spouses who responded to our Blue Star Families Pulse poll told us that her husband had already started his move. The promotion block prohibited him from taking his position. Their move was therefore on hold, so they're paying for 2 households. Their child can't enroll in school because they don't have a bona fide address in the new area. And so what's supposed to happen to that child? We have other people writing in about having individual education plans, that this hold is interfering with the ability of the child to transfer from the one school to the other, because they don't know how long they're going to be in this current school or when they're going to be able to move. And then, we also, people say, I wouldn't advise anyone to trust their lives and their livelihood to our current Congress. It's scary to see that the military can be used as a political bargaining tool. So we're seeing people saying that they are choosing to leave military service and to not continue on because they don't trust the future of how they're being commanded by the civilians who are in charge of the military.
A lot of the top leaders in the military were holding their tongue, not speaking out on this for a little bit. And Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin just said this of Tuberville's actions: "This is unprecedented, it is unnecessary, and it is unsafe." What do you think the precedent is that is being set based on these holdups?
The actions of Tommy Tuberville are a terrible precedent. It's something that should be stopped immediately and should never happen again. Right now, we don't have a leader for our 3 of our top services, of our military services. Can you imagine an enemy preventing us from having leadership of 3 of the 5 military services in the United States? We're about to not have a leader from the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. That would be an act of war. So our political leaders should not be allowed to undermine the good order and discipline of our military for the sake of political grandstanding.
Do you think Tuberville's actions amount to an act of war, his holdups here?
Tuberville's actions, I wouldn't say they amount to an act of war, but Tuberville's actions amount to a threat to our military. They're a threat to good order and discipline. They're a threat to morale, because families, service members feel that they're being held hostage for something outside their control. And they're a threat to the military because they undermine the confidence people have that it's safe to set aside their rights as a citizen to serve at the pleasure of the American people and their political leaders, because they're not sure that they can trust those leaders.
You're saying members of the military feel like they're being used as political pawns, but I do also now want to pivot to maybe the financial aspect of this. Is this financially costing members of the military?
This is financial. Tommy Tuberville's promotion block is expensive to members of the military. People are finding themselves in positions, some of them, where they're maintaining 2 households because a move was disrupted. In some cases, a spouse has quit a job and can't get a new job because it's not clear what's going to happen and when they can report to their new workplace. So there's really serious financial consequences for families, and there's real emotional consequences. Say you have a child in high school and that child wants to start on their sports team. And that's not only helping that child's well-being, which it does, but maybe that's helping them get into college. Well, now they can't start in that sports program. And maybe when they come, it's too late for them to be on the team. That's really hurting the family. And how can we be putting military children in a position where their lives are harmed for the sake of some posturing, some grandstanding?
The trickle-down effects you wouldn't even think of. I wouldn't think of how this would affect a child in high school and their sports, things like that. So what is your message to Senator Tommy Tuberville? If you could say one thing to him, what would that be?
Senator Tommy Tuberville, I am sure that you love our military and you support our military. And I want you to take that love in your heart and release these hostages, use other tools to pursue legislation, and let our military go back to work.
Kathy Roth-Douqet, thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.